Hello, everybody. Were we in a silent break that entire time? Did I not have music playing in the background? Was that a silent break that entire time?
Well, you kind of jumped off really quick. So.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Oh. Hi, Sean, by the way.
Silent as the grave. Well, thank you very much. I believe it's Josiah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Josiah. We've never officially met, but I did talk about you. When did I talk about Josiah? When did I bring him up?
It was last week. We talked
Was
about
it?
him.
No.
Yeah.
It was Friday night. Oh, Josiah, actually, before we actually get legit back into the story, don't you convert things to 5e from other editions? Isn't that like something that you do? Isn't that like your shtick? You guys can also answer for him if you would like.
That is a yes. He does other
And,
things
like,
too, but that's one of his shticks.
Yeah, not just from other editions, but from like other systems or just like real life lore.
No, that's fine. Josiah, have you ever converted the summon monster spells from real D&D into 5th edition, or have you not? If you haven't, that's perfectly fine. If you have, I'm interested. And the reason why I came up is because I have these 3 different systems, 3 different campaigns with some things kind of bleed between them. And so they recently in the 5e campaign got the spell summon monster, and they're like, let me copy it into my spell book and look at what it doesn't exist. And in my Discord, it was an ongoing joke for a long time. Poor Ollie used to hate it, but you know, this is because I just sound like an old man griping all the time, so I don't blame him for it. The joke was hashtag my favorite 5e spell. And we would just always talk about the hundreds of thousands of spells that exist in every other form of D&D except for 5th edition, because, you know, 5th edition was made for toddlers. And unfortunately that's on the list. And so we were like, oh shit, I have to convert this, or maybe I just bat some eyes at Josiah and say, did you already do it, buddy? But the answer is no, so back to the session.
Wow, don't do it for him. He just
That's Scott. That means I like you.
Don't do it for him. Make him grovel. Make him beg.
And too babyish for you, no worries. Oh boy.
Oh, it's a summon monster. Oh.
I make a big frog. A really big frog.
Yeah. I love that his accent went to Boston.
I did Boston.
No, you did Boston.
No. Bostonian accent is just a toddler, but with a lot more cusses and racial slurs. That's all a Bostonian accent is, right? Like babies, like children.
I'm going to land of toddlers. Yes.
More or less. With really crappy beer, but they like to pretend like it's good beer. I'm talking about the average Bostonian, not the you know, like my brother Will. He's a Bostonian that unfortunately is.
Well, he's a hipster.
He's a hipster.
Too cool. He's too cool.
Yeah. I mean, he works at Harvard. You know, he's definitely a hipster. So.
I want to see him with one of those sweaters.
Harvard?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, actually,
That
I have.
dude saw my tits.
There's like 5 family members, not me by any stretch. 5 family members, I think, work at Harvard. My father's worked there for like 40 years. How old's my brother? 38 years?
Just remember, you know, Harvard hires stupid people too.
They do. They absolutely.
They're not all beautiful mind people.
Get one of those Harvard like university shirts and then have it say really small someone from and then Harvard all big.
I have a Harvard mug. I have a Harvard mug, and it's funny because it's like one that you can go to like a gift shop and buy. It looks similar to that, but it's actually made differently because it's one that they gave to the Harvard employees after like 25 years or whatever it is. So it's actually made out of like a better stone or something. My dad gave it to me. He's like, oh, here's my Harvard mug. You can have it. And I'm like, it looks like a coffee mug that you don't drink from. You know what I mean? Like it's funny because it's like a Harvard mug, but it's the mug that says Harvard. You know, it's weird. But anyways, moving on. Did you literally just, my dad works at Harvard? Well, my dad works at Nintendo. Nice. Somebody here is jealous. We won't say who it is, but everybody knows. It's Josh. Josh is like, my dad lives in Orlando. Did you hear about the guy that ate the other guy's face? My dad may have been one of those guys.
I lived a block away from that when that happens.
Are you serious? Also, didn't it happen like more than once?
Oh, it was a long time ago now. Bath salts when it was a joke.
Dude, your dad sounds awesome.
We should. Okay, so since the session's not happening, we just turn into a podcast. We get Josiah on the call. I am just kidding. Let's get back to the session.
I could call him up.
What?
I could call him up.
No. I'm just kidding. So, because there's actually something important I want to have happen in the session, anyways. So the next morning, when you guys like wake up or whatever it is, they're gonna of course come by early in the morning to continue the investigation. So they're gonna kind of do that off to the side, and you don't really need to interfere with them, aside from of course being kind to them, so on and so forth. And they're gonna
every once in a while, I will
things.
be pressing my ear up against that door and making sure that there are no sobs, wails, or screams coming from it.
There will definitely be crying at points in times. However, there will be no wails or screams. You've already straight up said you're not allowed to do typical investigation of the servants, right? So they're not going to do that. That's this guy's pretty blunt. You know what I mean? And you can kind of get that from. Yeah. No abuse. So, why does she still sound far away? Doxy, does this mic need to be a little bit more like? Is it one of those?
It is exactly where it needs to be. It's like exactly where it needs
Oh, you know what the issue is? Sean, it's called a Q-tip, okay? You just put it in your ear and then smack it really hard.
Oh my god!
Don't do that.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
No one listen to him. That is terrible advice. God is not a doctor.
The bigger one's called
God is not a
swab.
doctor.
It looks like a Q-tip. It's so amazingly similar to a Q-tip. A president could pull them both out of his pocket and show them off to you. You smack that one in, right? No?
Oh my god.
Don't
We
do
just
that
got
one.
over this.
Aforementioned president.
Yes, I know. We just got over people giving bad medical advice. Let's not get into that.
Oh god. If the president does it, I can too. Anyways, it's really bad that.
Stop calling him the president, though.
I mean, it's one of those. But we don't need to get.
We're
into
never
this.
getting to this
Let's
session.
get to the session.
I'll just go.
Knuckle in.
I don't need to talk American politics. So I'll just
I
go.
want to knuckle in.
Oh man, I'm jealous. Anyways.
There will be, of course, cries and whatnot that happen here and there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not harming them by any stretch. Would there be some small degree of threat? Maybe, but of course, everything being well within their rights as officers of the law here, right? So, but
Right.
not necessarily anything that would give you an alarm, like these people are in any form of immediate danger or concern, so on and so forth. You would get the impression.
I would be conducting exit interviews. As in, they exit that door and I ask them what the fuck happened in there.
I mean, you can roll me an investigation check on that, actually. That's communications.
Okay.
Checkmate, libtards. Okay, so with your...
I thought that I rolled a total 4. I was like, no.
This
Hold on.
falls under exploratory, but can also be RP, and that's definitely going to be successful with talking to your servants.
Cool. I'm trying to find the I'm so sorry. I'm trying to find the cheat sheet. Exploration, you say?
Or role play if something in there is something that you need.
Actually, you know what? Let's just degree of success it. I feel like I've already built a good amount of trust with these people.
With degree of success, that's 2 out of 6, so it's not exactly a crazy successful one, but that's still fine because more or less they fill you in on everything. I'm trying to, I suppose, try to breeze past at the moment. Nothing out of the ordinary. They're just giving him information of everything they know. And one of the big things that they didn't know was that these people were Perrin or Perrin soldiers or had magic by any stretch of the imagination. As a matter of fact, the only thing that was strange out of all of it, remember that night that woman came here, the other Diamond that came through recently? One of her servants actually was super friendly and came in and spent some time with one of those gentlemen as well. When they spent time with him, apparently after they left, because obviously their mistress stayed behind, but they personally left or whatever, person was found handcuffed, beaten and unconscious with like no pants on or anything like that. It was very much a he had been some sort of bamboozled, hoodwinked, whatever it was, but also participated in some sort of sexual act that same day, and they thought that was very strange. But
One of the dead parents?
one of the dead parent apparently had sex with one of the servants of the diamonds that came through here recently,
Sure.
and was left behind, literally manacled, like bound, to a chair with no pants on. So it was one of those like more or less like naked. It was a very strange situation that they more or less were very threatening about not anybody saying anything about it, but it's not like they would aside from whispering amongst each other anyways. So that was kind of the only thing that seemed out of the ordinary that stood out. So all that aside, the day rolls on with all sorts of that kind of investigation happening, him doing the investigating. Before we get to any form of conclusion, Josh, for you, you're kind of looking over these documents, or you're waiting till they leave?
No, I am staying up as since time might be sensitive. I'm focusing on like studying and trying to get everything I can out of the seed to see if we could bring her back to life, in case time is sensitive.
Sure.
So I'll stay up all night if I have to.
What abilities do you have to do that?
Arcane lore. I mean, there's research, but there's not going to be research here for that. I also have the spell Identify, which I cast on it once already. I could also ask our friendly neighborhood ghost, maybe, if I come up completely dry, but that would be like the last case scenario he would do. He doesn't want to like talk to those people. You know,
What do you mean by those people?
the dead.
So yeah, you do this investigation. When you're investigating as much as you can, roll me your actual checks of success. Remember, this is kind of it takes time to fully diagnose exactly what this is. So
is this just flat Arcana of that class?
correct.
Which I don't have. All I have is Arcana, enchantment.
Correct.
Okay. So 16, no stunt. Well, 4 stunt.
No stun.
No.
Yeah.
I
Degrees
understand.
count
I
the stunt.
understand.
I don't.
Right.
How many do you want me to roll? Because I would stay up all night until I feel like I have a good grasp of this.
So this would have been last night and then all throughout today as well, because obviously we're talking about that. So I'd say for the early part of the evening into the morning, you'd be able to do that. But because of tiredness settling in, you can make a second roll with a -1.
14 with
Okay.
2 more.
And those only apply if you actually succeed. And and then a third one, but this is throughout today, but you're very tired today because you didn't sleep last night. So you're going to get a -2 total.
15.
15 total. So unfortunately, after all that time of studying, just because this piece is so unique and out there, 15, 16, those aren't enough to actually have been able to glean to any more information off of this thing. You're doing tons of tests, tons of understanding, tons of learning, every little thing that you can come across. And how does it affect this corpse over here? How does it affect that? But for some reason, you know that it's supposed to grant some sort of life. But it doesn't seem to have any effect whatsoever on like all your experiments with people. You don't get it. It doesn't work.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So after a day, well, we'll let everyone else RP for the day.
Hi, Soul. So that happens throughout most of the day. What is it that Oscar is doing throughout this day while they're being investigated? Doxy's being amicable.
Yeah. I mean, I guess here's the question, and this is something that he would have actually asked both Luthira and Davidin for the day. Do you guys want me to go down to the private pier?
I think it's important that you do it at once. If you'd like, I would accompany you.
You have things to do here.
Agreed.
Worst case scenario, I don't come back by the end of the day, and then you come check on me.
I'm sure that one of the staff would be...
No. No point in putting anyone in danger. We don't know what's down there. Could just be I go and I talk to a bunch of other staff. Could be that there are a bunch of parent soldiers about to roll up on a dock. If there are, I'll save some for you.
Tell facility staff to report back to the manor at some point in the following days.
Sure. So where is this private pier, by the way?
When you go down to the docks themselves, you can investigate something like this pretty easily. It's going to be an investigation check, which is communications. And I know communications isn't your forte, but at some point in time, you personally might want to pick up that focus.
Yeah.
Either way, so you're going to roll that to try to find out that how quickly you can figure it out, so on and so forth.
It's not good. 7. Yeah, 7.
So a 7. Do you want to modify that at all, sir?
What do you guys think? For speed?
I think you shouldn't be stuck in the backyard for half the day until you realize it's not where you're supposed to look.
All right. So I'll roll the luck then. Let's see if we have luck.
I mean, the API is obviously being slow.
Doxing.
So...
I did click it.
I believe you, but we've seen how long it takes for a total to pop up, and we're using another part of the API. There we go.
Ooh,
That's
another 4.
Shit. Oh my
yeah,
God,
so that's now an 11?
That is an average check. That is huge.
There you go.
It actually is a success. I mean,
Hey!
Yeah.
Good news, everyone.
I was going to make it easy, which is a 9. For like it's take a while, average for it's taken okay amount of time, and then anything above that would make it quicker. So you go down there and you kind of talk to people. Some people are like, I don't know what you mean. He keeps his ships kind of wherever other people do. But eventually, oh, and by the way, you are, because I like porting this kind of information in from like Pathfinder's roles. If you ever try to get information from people, like an investigation like this, but are intentionally trying to do it discreetly, as the people don't know, that just jacks up the DC. So like if it was an 11, it would jack it up to whatever it is, depending on the scenario. Just so you guys know PC's feature, okay? Moving on. You actually eventually able to discover, oh, yeah, he does have a small private dock where it's kind of at the end over here. Come to think of it, he doesn't have one private dock. He actually has 2 private docks. He has one all the way to the eastern edge of the docks of the city, and one all the way to the western edge of the docks of the city. So he has 2 of them there. He keeps ships occasionally at both, but nobody really knows much of what those ships... Nobody really keeps track.
Fair enough. Well, thank you. So
there would be a dock master, of course.
Which one is closer to the estate? I just want to know which one is closer to the estate.
The estate is, funny enough, kind of slap dab in the middle of where the docks are, so they can see everything going on down there. Yeah.
So in that case, then I would probably go for Okay, so where's the estate in town then? Because obviously, if the docks are there, is it kind of center of town then as well, or is the town kind of built around the docks, or is the town kind of off to one side?
The town is not symmetrical by any stretch of the imagination. Okay. So the town does stretch more to the west than I always get those backwards. It always stretches more to the west than it does to the east.
Okay.
Yeah. You do know that. Can you see the map right now?
No, I can see a nice gray screen. Presently.
No, that's not fun for you. So let's get into the map. We can get us all to the map just for funsies.
That's metagaming.
Why?
Because I'm not there.
You'll live. So Strandano is the city that you're in. So again, it stretches more to the east than it does to the west because the city is actually built on the western edge of the river that's there. So that kind of like leaves room whatever for. But you do know, of course, Tico Capro is the city that they have the most kind of rivalry with when it comes to the fishing here and so on and so forth. That'd be the eastern side.
Okay, so if I was thinking about business and how I would run a business, well, I would be completely out of my depth. But I mean, if I'm thinking about it from a war standpoint, then, well, I would put my fishing ships nearer to my enemy to make sure that I had access to all the lines. So anything that was coming in that wasn't a fishing ship would probably be on the western dock. I don't know. We'll find out. I'm gonna go to the eastern dock first, then to the western dock.
Sure. So yeah, you go heading over that direction. So again, the dock itself even has a guard stationed at the end of it. Now this guard isn't like, "Arr!" but it is to stop you from getting onto it because it is a private dock. So and you've been to a pier before, I imagine, in real life, and the network of docks that exists there, and so on and so forth, right? So it is one of those things where you go onto the primary dock and you just head up all the way to the edge, and you go out there, and they have one of those, like, you've probably seen it before, those little simple wooden gates that's there with like a latch and a lock. That way, if you actually wanted to get onto it, you'd have to like almost like jump the fence or like somehow hang off and go around. But it's designed to that a normal situation would allow you to do that, right?
Right.
Anyways, then there's a guard that's, you know, just sitting there and he's not really paying attention, even as you like approach the gate that is unlocked but shut. So he would clearly see if you look your direction. He doesn't even notice you approach because he's not really paying attention. It's not a concern of his.
I mean, I'm going to walk up to him and just say, "Are you guarding this dock?"
He'd be like, "Huh? Oh, hey. Yeah,
Hi.
Yep, yeah, I am."
All right. Well, I'm here on behalf of the estate. I'm just here to have a look around.
What estate?
Really?
Are you just one of the people that's coming over here to check things out? Because I've told countless people every day, you can't come over here. You can't come. It's private property.
Yes, private property to the what's the guy's name? Because I would actually know this. I don't have it on my notes. What's the dude's name? Nori.
Nori,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, Nori's fine.
Eugene or whatever.
Sure.
Isn't it like Honora, something like that?
For Nori's estate.
Oh, you're here on behalf of Nori. I don't know who you are.
No, my name's Credence. The executrix of the will is named Luthira. She is the one who sent me down here. Look, man, I'm just here to do my job and then leave.
Hey, I'd be more than happy to help you out. I don't know an executrix or who Luthira or Credence or anybody is.
But Credence is me. You know that now.
A pleasure to meet you. My name's Josiah.
Nice to meet you, Josiah. Well,
gotta do it.
So, look, essentially here, my understanding is that Nori has two docks, one on the east side, this one, and then one on the west side, both of which are private property owned by the estate. We need to essentially do an inventory of what's happening at those, get the documentation there, because there's currently an investigation happening because 2 guards were killed at the estate by 3 of these servants.
Is that what that was last night?
Yeah. So I'm helping that out right now and trying to figure out what the hell happened. So that's kind of why I'm here.
Roll a persuasion check, sir.
Yeah, communication, my forte. Yeah, 9.
Are you happy with your 9, sir?
I mean...
Roll the luck.
All right.
Do it.
All right, we're rolling luck.
And we're going to wait?
We're going to wait a little bit, but luck was rolled.
No whammies. Big money, big money.
So Doxy, while we're waiting for that luck die, as the day rolls on and it gets like late into the day, so it's early evening, late afternoon, where the sun's kind of getting low in the sky, that time where you probably would expect your mom to call you home for dinner, you'll actually have a visitor come to the estate itself to come to investigate things. What it would be is, the way you would find out is one of the servants would come and tell you, Executrix Luthira, you have a visitor, and we will stop there. Back to you, sir, with your 4 again. That is beautiful. That gets you to 11 total.
13 total. Yeah.
He goes, listen, I believe you. You know a hell of a lot more than most people that come around here bothering me. You're probably being honest, but if you're actually a part of the investigation of what's going on in the estate, either one of the guards have to come and confirm who you are, or I have to have some sort of... I've been guarding this place for a long time. So
No,
you know.
I understand that. My issue, obviously, there is that the guards have told us that we need to handle the investigation on the estate and that they're not going to be participating in that aspect. So as a result, they're not really willing to do any of that. So it is just me handling this right now, and I really just need to get that information and come back. I get where you're coming from. I'm really just looking to make this happen. Why don't you come with me if that works for you? Or you can log my time and make sure and make a note of it. I'm willing to give you just any information that I have. I'm willing to tell you what I find when I go through there.
He nods. He's like, well, it's not like there's a ship here anyways, so what the hell? And he opens up the gate, like he stands up, opens up the gate, and invites you in.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'll be as quick as I can. I mean, I don't want to keep you, and I guarantee you that there's probably nothing interesting happening here, anyways. So,
so he after he opens his gate, he actually formally shakes your hand. COVID's not a concern, so formally shakes your hand to be respectful, and he walks through. Again, it's a private dock, sure, but
yeah,
there's not anything there. There's no ships or anything there.
Yeah.
So, what are you looking for? What degree of investigation are you doing? And you can feel free to ask him questions.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask him just, you said that quite a few people have come by here recently.
No. It's every day. People always just, the part of the dock you're not allowed to go on is obviously where all the kids and passersby always want to go.
Was there anyone who isn't just a normal passerby or a kid that's been inquiring, other than myself, obviously?
I usually don't engage.
Fair enough. All right, and no one struck you as odd or creeping around, paying it too much attention?
Nope, not at all.
Good. That's good to hear. Other than that, are there any manifests or anything kept here at the dock, or are those all kept separate from the property?
Everything was kept by, I know nickname is Nori, I can't remember his real name, and I literally have my chart open for writing down all my new... I'm recently writing down all the names of the NPCs, and I was hoping that... Oh, well.
Yeah, it was written down, like, I had it.
It might be in your POI.
Oh, it might be. Hold on.
But I'm literally making myself a multi-campaign chart.
Yeah, Horanor, Nori.
Horanor. That's what it is. Horanor.
Yeah. I said that earlier.
Oh, I didn't hear you say it. Can you spell that for me? H-O-R...
H-O-R-Y-N-O-R.
And last name?
E-R-I-Q-U-E.
Did you say D-R-I-Q-U-E?
E-R.
Oh.
Echo.
Yeah. Yep, gotcha. Enrique. All right, cool. So yeah, he goes, no, you ask anybody come by, all that stuff, anybody stands out. He says, no, nobody stands out at all. Just the ship set out about, I want to say maybe 2 weeks ago. It's usually gone for long periods of time when it heads out, so waiting for it to come back.
Anything special about the ship that comes through? I mean, outside of what you'd expect.
It's well made, decently crewed, and there's when it goes out a lot longer than any of his other ships, or any of the other ships typically do. So wherever it goes a bit of a distance.
Do you ever keep an eye on it as it sails out? I mean, I know from here how far, actually, that's a good question. How far across the lake can you actually see from here? Because depending on where you are around a lake, you can get a pretty good view of the entrances and exits, i.e. the rivers.
A big part of it is whether or not you have an elevation, because curvature of the earth only allows you to see so far anyways, right? So, or of Eroth. You can only see a few miles out. And if you're actually looking at the map that's over there, that is... Yeah.
I'm looking at this river here on the other side of
like this is like even just straight across, you're looking at 15 miles. That's pretty you're not going to be able to see that without some degree of elevation.
Well, that's exactly what I'm wondering is what's the elevation like here? Is there enough? But I'm guessing no. I'm guessing the idea here is that we can probably, if we were looking out this direction, we could probably only see to around here.
Yeah, maybe that, yeah.
Okay.
So again.
So I'm going to essentially ask him do they usually travel that way? And I'm going to point in that direction.
To the east?
Yeah, well, east by northeast, really.
I know that I've heard people coming back and forth talking about heading east, but generally speaking, they head north.
Okay.
Maybe they turn east afterwards.
Right. I mean, that's entirely likely, but that's good to know. It's just keeping track of which ships come where, and we're trying to make sure we identify which ones are coming through based on the accounts that we have. So that's kind of where I'm at there. The three, there were 3 servants who were acting in bad faith, and they weren't in fact servants. They were posed as servants, and they were the ones who killed the guards last night. So that's bad situation.
You think some of the crew's in danger?
Some of my concern, yeah. Either that or, well, depending on the circumstances, maybe they could be involved. I perish the thought, but it's something we have to keep account of. Weird happenings with Aurorum, passing recently as well. We're just trying to make sure we cover all of our angles.
I didn't know him very well. He was kind of a dick. I knew that, but he paid.
I never had the displeasure of meeting the man. I simply work for the Executrix, so I'm fortunate in that respect. I just get to investigate and be completely separate from things at this point in time. So that's all right, at least for me. But
well, I wish I could offer you more information, but there's no boat here, and I honestly don't know much about boats. I just stop the kids from walking past the gates, and occasionally have to shove a drunkard into the water. A couple of them drowned, but
that's
they were
perfectly
drunk
reasonable.
anyways.
Yeah. Well, can I just perception empathy this guy? I don't have empathy the focus, but I just want to just kind of get a feel for whether or not he's telling me the truth. 16 with 5 stunt points.
Jesus. So you get an idea of this guy that he's well, first of all, are you comfortable with your 16?
I mean, I've already used 2 luck. I think I'm gonna hold on this.
16 is a pretty good roll, right?
It's pretty good. I'm gonna hold on this one.
You still have 4 left in the pool.
Yeah,
You're not supposed to tell us that.
Well, no, it does tell us that because I rolled it recently. So
it says it right above.
Yeah.
Yeah, right above kill him.
It is 100% up to you guys if you want me to use it or not. I mean, I'm personally comfortable with the 16, but if you guys think that this is perhaps...
Anytime I roll a 17, you guys go damn. So I'm thinking a 16 is pretty solid.
No,
well, that is a 1
DC
DC
a 17
though, as
you
well.
Always.
That's also it's also a difference between a hard and a formidable.
I mean, I love rolling dice. Roll it. If you're gonna roll a dice, roll it. I'm always gonna say yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay, not
so
always. But that's
50,
me.
Hey, Josh, I was wondering
here.
if you can grab your ankles for me.
That's a sore subject.
I don't.
I don't understand what's happening.
I don't understand. I never know. I never
let it run.
If it wasn't the sore subject, it will be when we're done. So,
all right. This is so I think I'm gonna roll it, and if
a 1 is a degree above.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. It's we're guaranteed to move 1 degree of difficulty up. I don't get to roll 4 very often.
You're gonna roll a 4. You're gonna roll a 4.
I rolled a 3, which puts it at a 19.
Okay, so what you get in the reading off of this guy here, just to be clear, and then you can choose how you want to use your stun points, right?
Yeah.
You get the idea that this guy's actually like, it's not one of those things that he hates his job. It's not one of those things that he likes his job. It's just like, it's a job. It pays the bills. And usually I don't have any form of entertainment. He's actually being genuine with you because you seem to be a nice guy. You're pretty straightforward. So it's like, oh, I'm actually having a fun conversation. Like, this is entertainment for me that I don't typically get in a conversation. Is he maybe being a little bit dodging? He is, to a small degree. You can kind of see that he's holding back a bit. But how much, you don't necessarily know. And you can certainly use your stun points from there.
Yeah. I mean, I think... I mean, Tower of Will makes, I think, the most sense here. I don't know, because like Sway the Crowd, there's no one else here, so there's no point in that.
Enrage.
I mean, look, I'm looking at Enrage, all right? I'm looking at it. It's not what I want to do.
Get your finger up his butt and call it a flirt.
Yeah, flirt. Touch all the butts. Just touch his butt.
That's not...
Just like, that's how you do it, right?
I think Tower of Will is what I'm going to do, and just for the rest of the current role-playing exchange, you get a +1 bonus to any opposed test where the opponent tries to put you at an emotional disadvantage, such as by intimidating, impressing, or bargaining with you, and so on.
I mean, do you think he's going to do any of those things to you, though?
I mean, like realistically, look, if degrees of success were, not gonna be useless here, I would say that, but I don't know.
Don't forget, you're also doing exploration.
Ooh, exploration actually might be more interesting. That is a good point.
Resources at hand is always a good thing.
Resources at hand is very good. And I guess advantageous positioning. I kind of want to just be able to see if there's any physical evidence of stuff that's being hidden around here. So I might want to just be in a better position for that as well. So resources at hand, pulling a focus of, it has to be in perception. I mean, I guess I just take perception empathy here.
Seeing.
Oh yeah, no, perception.
Touch his butt.
I'm not touching his butt. I think perception seeing as a.
You were just talking about trying to see over the water.
You make a good point.
Empathy is also good, though. To be fair,
yeah,
it's very good. I'm super glad I have it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take the temporary focus in perception empathy just to kind of get any read on whether or not he's lying at me in the future.
Okay, so we do resources at hand. That's fine. Do you want to do a bond moat for your last one?
No, I mean I think I want to do advantageous positioning for that and just see if there's any physical, like genuinely, like get in a position, like I want to be in a position where I would be able to see any.
Gotcha. Okay,
any
cool.
physical markings.
So again, like I said, you know that he's holding back to a degree, probably not a lot, but he is holding back a bit.
Yeah. I'm gonna just kind of just stop there and give him a look, and it's not a look that's meant to be intimidating, right? It's just meant to be a very frank look of, all right, so I appreciate everything you've told me. I do know you're holding back a little bit right now, and I do want you to just be as forthcoming as you can with me, because I don't want to have to come back is my main thing, and I want you to just be able to, do your job here. If possible, could you, there's something you're not telling me. I need to know what that is.
What you're pulling here is going to be a persuasion check.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a lovely 9.
Do you want to luck it?
Go ham on that jam fam.
I mean, you are playing to your worst skills. This is what the luck rolls are for.
It's a 12 now. It's a 12 now.
Yeah.
We're gonna be so far out of dice.
So he's like, you asked if anything was strange. I suppose a little strange. Usually, if you do a shipping, which they do ship, they do bring fish and the like wherever they're headed. Usually use the same crew over and over again. It's keen. They get familiar with the ship. It becomes second nature to them, so on and so forth, right? He often has a different crew. Sometimes even the crew that goes out isn't the same crew that comes back, and so on. So his crew that comes off this dock switches out pretty regularly, I guess you could say. I always thought that was a bit weird, But
That is a little odd.
again, it's not my place to ask these things. It's probably not my place to notice them either. So I tried not to notice, and I didn't ask.
I do really appreciate that you did. Honestly, that's one of the best things that you can do, no matter what your job is notice things. It's what I'm paid to do, right? And don't take it for granted. What you're doing here is important, and I appreciate everything that you've told me.
Hey, listen, maybe you can talk to the dominatrix and see if she can get me a raise.
Executrix, but you know what? I'll do what I can. And your name was Josiah again. Do you have a last name that I can pass on? Because obviously for the records.
Yeah, it's Josiah Papa.
Papa. All right. And is that P-A-P-A-H or P-A-P-A?
Just P-A-P-A. My family's
right.
not. We're not particularly. There's not even an H at the end of my name. We're not fancy.
All right. Well, I'll go and pass that along for sure. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'll let you get back to scaring kids away.
It's
I'm
dirty
sorry,
work, but someone's gonna do
you
it.
were totally supposed to tell any staff to report to the man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm going to.
Okay.
As we're walking back to the gate, I'm gonna say, oh, and by the way, when you have a chance, when you get relieved from duty, head on up to the estate. You'll have a chance to meet Luthera yourself.
He nods and says, "Just make sure you put in that good word first, right?"
Oh, I will. I'll do it as soon as I get back there.
Do you see what Naga said in chat?
Yep.
Woman loves saying his last name.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it just makes you Big Papa. Anyways, so biggest schmalls.
Yeah.
Moving on. It's made me laugh. So yeah, you end up heading out of there. Do you head over to the other place immediately afterwards?
No, I actually head back to the estate first.
Perfect. We are gonna
'cause it's
cut away from you
on the
then.
way.
Doxy.
Howdy.
What's your Luthira, there's someone here to visit you?
Please escort them to the office.
I certainly will. Will you be waiting for them up there?
I will meet them, either before or after they arrive.
Oh, okay. And they go in down the hallway from where you are, not very far from where you are, because it's a big house, but it's not like, right? So go down the hall from where you are, and you can actually maybe even hear a small conversation. If you roll a high enough perception check, you might be able to hear what she's saying to her. Not high enough to be able to hear what's going on. So you just hear muffled conversation happening down the hallway. You hear there's a bit of a sharp tone from the person's voice that you're not familiar with. Like you can just hear it gets a little bit louder and a little sharp, but then it ends, and you can hear footsteps going up the stairs. The steps that are clearly that of the servants. They're pretty quiet. You can only hear the creaking of the board, not the actual step itself. And then another step that actually you can tell by the way that it sounds that it has the either a heel or a boot to it. You know what I mean? So definitely somebody, you get the impression it's a woman.
I would like to find the most muscular of the staff.
Yep, it's the chef actually, because they do all the butchery and whatnot.
Sure. And I would say, I'm going to go meet with somebody who sounds very angry. I would love for you to come and stand next to me so that they think that if they harm me, that you will harm them. I would not ask you to put yourself in harm's way. If they do harm me, I want you to run. I just want there to be an incentive for them not to.
It's a pretty easy persuasion check, but you can go right ahead, or leadership check if that's a thing. You can go right ahead and do that. I think it is a thing.
Is persuasion okay?
No, leadership would be the
flat communication.
Leadership would be the better one, which would be, I believe, a flat communication for you. Then I guess. Yep, leadership. I mean, it's not like you rolled poorly. She rolled poorly. What's your grand total?
12.
You could re-roll if you'd like.
No. This is a leadership check. You can't re-roll those, I don't think.
It's communications, isn't it?
No, it's for specific ones.
Yeah.
Oh,
Etiquette
that's
and
right.
such.
That's right.
We just went over that.
Persuasion or
Josh.
etiquette.
Yeah.
Yes.
Josh, we are disappointed in you. So anyways, yeah, the yeah, you are making your way. So you go upstairs with them. They do listen. You know, they kind of like go along with it, but it's they're not like yay. You know, it's just, I guess you're even just taking that as degrees of success. They're willing to go along with you, but this is the same chef that was like scared when you broke in the door before. So you know, it's not exactly like they're I got your back on this one. It's like,
Right.
boss said to, so I guess I'm gonna go.
On the way up the stairs, I would say, this means a lot to me, and you will be appropriately rewarded. Again, run if things get ugly.
Sure, not a problem. That's funny. So anyways, yeah, you go up. So you go upstairs with them to go and you said meet with them in the office. Not a big deal. When you actually get up there, when you actually get up there and open the door, you can actually see there's a woman that's standing there. She's an older woman. A quick look, you know, she seems to be human. You know, she's older, so it would stand out for you. There's an older woman. She's well dressed, but not like, oh my god, this is incredibly fancy clothes. She's not the clothing of somebody who's like of royalty or high nobility or anything like that.
Are my clothes fancier than her clothes?
Oh yeah, your diamonds. Yeah, your clothes are definitely fancier. But she definitely has like nice clothing to her, so on and so forth. And she's inside the office, and she's actually kind of like fingering through the books on the shelf when you she hears the door open up and she turns around and looks at you. And again, you can see that even though she's poised and calm and confident, and you can see like a sharpness behind her eyes, that she is definitely older in age.
Sure.
So the door opens up. She turns towards you and says, Luthira, the executrix, I imagine.
Welcome. And I'll scooch around her and sit wherever he would sit. I don't know if it's behind a desk or not.
Sure. So you go and sit.
And I would sit down and I would just kind of rub my temple and say, "How may I help you?"
She goes, "Well, I was actually coming to visit an old friend, somebody that I've known for a degree of time and haven't spoken to for a while. It's unfortunate that he has passed. Seems like everything seems to be falling apart lately. Who are you?" To him.
Luthira.
To him.
Oh, Bluegill.
I'm sorry?
He didn't have a cute little fishy nickname for you.
She just gives you a plain blank, not blank, but like just a plain, no expression stare.
I'm a diamond. His favorite.
Oh, that's right, it's diamonds. I always forget when you come this far west that those are more and more common. Yeah, well, so you were a plaything of his and he gave you executrix of the estate?
He was more a plaything of mine, I do believe.
Roll a empathy check, which is a perception if you don't have that.
I do have empathy, actually.
Okay. Where's that result? Sorry.
Definitely not going to degree of success that. Hold on. Is this...
It's 14 is the total.
Right, but with a 2. Role playing.
Are you happy with the 14?
What do you boys think?
That's up to you.
Yeah, it does seem like this could be good or bad. Probably bad because everyone in Yelvancia is a jerk, or Yelvance is a jerk.
I'm gonna roll it.
Yep.
I did roll it.
Yeah, it'll go.
There we go. Your 14 becomes a 16. You get nothing off of her. She says, "So you know each other very well then? Understandable."
Well enough that it strikes me that I've never seen you before.
Well, I don't live around here, but the two of us have known each other for, well, I suppose since he was just a little boy.
He was still rather a little boy, wasn't he?
She doesn't respond. She just stares at you blankly.
Who do I have the pleasure of making acquaintance with?
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to be rude. I probably should introduce myself, considering that you are, in theory, handling the estates here. My name is, Alfie. My name is Lady Alfie Graris. I'm from east of here.
Charmed. Miss Graris.
I'm
Can I
sure
offer
you
you a
are.
coffee?
No,
Or a
thank you.
meal?
No, thank you.
And what is your business here?
Well, I was hoping in my dark days to brighten them a little bit by visiting an old friend, and instead I find a minx sitting inside of his estate. It's very frustrating. Listen, do you have paperwork backing up the fact that this is your responsibility?
I do. Do you have business seeing it?
Absolutely, I do, yeah.
Listen.
Can you answer me one little question before this goes any further? Just one little question. I imagine you know his holdings in the city, his significance, and all the different work that he does. But who was it that appointed him to the slave trade? The name of the person that gave him that responsibility.
It escapes me.
Doesn't surprise me. Do you have that paperwork?
I do have that paperwork, and I can have...
I'll wait. It's okay.
I'll have your authority to see the paperwork before I produce it. You do understand this is quite a sensitive matter.
It is, in fact, yes. You want a degree of authority? Absolutely. She will actually go over across the room to the bookshelf and say, there are books missing here. I can see the fact that there's dust lines near them that they were taken recently. I imagine that was either your doing or somebody immediately before you got here after he died, since it's only been a week or so. But beyond that, let me go over here and grab this book out. And she goes over and puts it down on the table and says, this is his family line and the different people that he happens to know very well, who he's related to. This is his heraldry.
I'm going to start flipping for it and looking for her.
I'm not a member of his family because I'm a business partner of his. And you are? Ah, a toy. So if you could stop playing and go and get me that paperwork so I know I'm dealing with a adult, that'd be wonderful.
I would look to the chef and I would say, do go fetch the guard. Our guest is most unwelcome.
The chef just like nods and leaves the room. And she'll just stand there and
you
she'll
can
just
leave
sit
the easy way if you'd like. It's been a pleasure. And I'll walk out of the room.
Sure. You walk out of the room and the guard will, one of the guards, one of the side guards or whatever it is, would come upstairs. And where do you go?
I would meet him and I would say, I'm being threatened by a so-called business partner that I've never seen. She's in the office.
Yeah. I'll check it out. And he starts walking in that direction. Do you go with him?
No, I'm gonna go downstairs and fucking make myself busy, like looking through things, cataloging, whatever.
Several minutes. You imagine a minute or so passes, and then you hear bootsteps walking overhead from there, going to another location. Silence for about a minute or so. Then you hear two sets of bootsteps walking and going back towards the room that they originally came from, which you imagine is where she is. And then several minutes pass, and then several more minutes pass. And then eventually the guard that you met with in the hallway comes downstairs and says, excuse me, Lady Luthera?
Yes?
The lieutenant and Lady Greyeris would like to see you upstairs. And they did request that you bring the documentation with you.
By all means. And I would.
Okay. You go upstairs, and she would be comfortably sitting behind the desk, and he would be leaning against it, and the two of them are having a conversation. And when you come walking in, it's one of those things where he walks in, and he actually will lean back off of the desk, and you can clearly tell he's put in that scenario where it's like, oh, this is going to be fun. And he looks to you, and she doesn't say anything. She just gives you a cold stare. And he'll turn to you and kind of like, again, reading the scenario, will say, I'm sorry for the confusion that you may have come across. You probably aren't familiar with all of the people that she is, Horanor was familiar with or had dealings with. But Lady Greyeris is, in fact, an old acquaintance of his and somebody that we have seen in the city before and actually has holdings in the city, albeit much less significance than that of this estate. And again, he says that like matter-of-factly, not meant to be condescending or anything.
Sure.
He says, nonetheless, they are familiar with one another, and she should have a right to see the paperwork. If you're going to be overseeing documentation, business adventures that the two of you share.
Absolutely. And I have no intention of harming your business dealings, but I do need to find somebody to replace Nori.
She doesn't respond. She just holds her hand out to see the documentation.
I will hold it in front of her.
Okay. She goes, this is how you would treat an older woman. Kids these days. And she snatches it out of your hand and sits back.
Can I dex save?
You mean to like not let her get it?
Yeah, she's not touching it. She can read it, but she's not touching it.
How can she read it without touching it?
Like I'll
use your
flatten
eyes,
it out.
Spot.
on yeah.
Oh, you mean hold it
Is
out
she-
like this, not hold it out like this?
Like I would hold it like down on the desk for her to
Oh,
inspect.
that's perfectly fine. Yeah. She would. My apologies. I misunderstood. I thought you were like you're holding it out like an envelope for somebody to take.
No.
Like you had for pretty much every character prior.
I'd
but
hold it
I
out
get
for her to
I get what
read.
you're saying. Yeah. Now, so like on the desk, but like your hand on it. So she would actually like reach, but not snatch, because I misunderstood you before. She would actually reach to take it from your hands, but whether if you say like or just like pull it back slightly or however it might be, she gets the point and she'll give you a look like this is like more or less give you a look like you're being childish. You know what I mean? But she doesn't say anything, and she looks down. She actually will read through it. And if you'll actually give me a moment, I'm going to /GM roll.
When she behaves that way, I'm going to say, respect is returned.
It's a good thing he didn't open roll it, because then he could use daddy dice.
It's true. I have a really good modifier, but so she reads through it, and of course she has to touch it because she has to flip through the pages, right? But
Sure.
I get what you're doing. And then she gets to the end, and she goes back to the beginning, and she reads through it again, and this time much more slowly. And then she gets back to the beginning, and she looks up and says, Lieutenant, if you could please give us our privacy. And he looks to Luthera and says, I imagine all is in order?
As far as I know. Listen for me, though.
I will be occupied because I am still investigating your staff. However, I will have a guard posted nearby, just in case. But ladies, I have no intention of having any guard lay hand on either one of you, considering your statures. So if you could please do me a favor and keep things civil amongst yourselves, I would appreciate it. And
Gratitude. And you've got my word. And I like shoot a look at her.
She doesn't respond. He walks out of the room, shutting the door gently behind him, and walks away. Moments later, if you're paying attention, you'd hear footsteps walk near, but not directly outside the door. Anyways, so she looks up at you, and she still has that cold, hard face. Roll me an empathy check.
Wow, it'd be cool if I could, right?
It'd be cool if you could actually succeed a check. Yeah, that might be nice.
Aw, stop it. I want to luck this, guys.
You luck it. Go right ahead.
Before it.
Actually, no, not for an empathy. Never mind.
It's your ability to read her, and she's pretty hard to read. You know that, so.
That's fine.
Okay. So she still continues to give you that cold, hard look. She takes a deep breath, steadying herself. We got off to a bad start. You can imagine the reason why I wouldn't believe you, but your paperwork is very much in order. And so I owe you an apology for not believing you.
I accept.
May I have that drink? Perhaps something a little bit more stiff?
What's your poison?
Whatever you like. I'll do the same. You seem to be a woman that knows her, that has taste.
Do I? Follow me.
She'll get up and follow you.
And I would grab a bottle of wine, like whatever the best wine is, and take her outside to the beautiful sitting area.
Mm-hmm. So she will go out and join you and sit down there, and she says, I remember when he built this place, referring to the sitting area.
It's been here since I've known him.
Well, it would make sense. He did do it many years ago. He was a little shit, wasn't he? All pomp on the outside, but didn't mind if things just crumbled on the end. You've known him for some years?
A few, yes.
She allows silence to settle for a little bit as she takes a few drinks and kind of like looks out at the lake. Like I said, it was kind of getting a little bit later in the day anyways. And so you can see like the beauty of the sun, you know, off on the western part of the lake, just really starting to hit those beautiful colors in the lake and stuff like that. Scintillating lights in the sky. Not quite sunset, but you know, it's like really getting that late day kind of view. She, like I said, she'll let silence settle for a few minutes, and you can read that pretty easily, that she's not looking to jump into a conversation. Do you break the silence, or do you allow her to? Go ahead.
I didn't want this responsibility. I take it very seriously, but I never asked for it. And I'm willing to let bygones be bygones and perhaps even give you a bigger piece of the pie. But I did not ask for this.
Persuasion.
Did it just roll twice?
No. It's just being weird. You got a really, really, really good roll there. Are you happy with your 18?
Yes, I am.
Beautiful. Hold on,
It's so good.
So yeah, you got a 18 total. So she will nod, understanding. Again, there's like a grace to her, the way that she sits and holds her glass and so on and so forth. She takes that sip and she finishes the glass and she'll actually put it, she doesn't hold it out for you to like fill it or anything like that, but you definitely see like she's...
I would anyway.
Oh, you do it, so you're being a gracious host, right? You do that and she actually will look at you're doing the action. She'll say, thank you. Truth be told, it's been a while since I've had as gracious of a host as yourself. I'd like to take a step back and apologize for our introduction. I, let's just say traveled a long way in an unexpected manner, through strange circumstances to come here. I was very much looking forward to seeing a warm greeting from an old friend and to start righting some wrongs that had happened recently. I was able to get in, of course, to my own estate that is here, as small as it may be, because I don't come very often and gather a few of my belongings, but I actually came here because I find myself in a position of lacking. I'm going to be honest with you, because there is nobody in this entire city beyond yourself and a couple of the guards that I know. I don't know you at all, and the guards are more pawns than anything else. Things fell apart back home. I don't know where my children are. I believe they're safe. And this is the finest clothing I've worn in a long time.
Would they know to look for you here?
No. I don't know. The people looking for me are... You mean my children? No. I once had a ability to communicate with them, but that, like everything else, was taken from me.
Taken from you.
I would like to say wrongfully, but with this happenstance here being just another... Do you believe in fate?
Huh, sometimes. Depends on the fate.
She appreciates the almost like youthful response that you give. You know what I mean? How young people always have that same like naive kind of perspective that all old people can either hate or just like, oh, I remember when I had that. And you can see it's more of one of those, I remember when I had that. And she's like... I thought by coming here, I was going to be able to reestablish things as they were. And again, I find myself in a situation where I have to accept that life has changed. And I'm going to have to try a new course of action, because even trying to boss around somebody who is a legal and respected whore, no offense, I can't do successfully any longer.
Perhaps things could be better for you than you expect?
That would be... I'd be hopeful, thinking that I haven't been able to hold on to for some time.
You said you were unable to enter your manor?
I was. Here. I was. I would even say manor. It's a small home adjacent to the office that I maintained here, but again, I've only visited this way very, very infrequently. Usually, I would have a daughter of mine would come and handle such things, but she has been occupied for the past, let's say, decades since she got married. So I don't think anybody has stepped foot in that estate. Certainly Dust would suggest that in that amount of time.
Where is home, if I may ask?
It's to the east. Have you ever... I'm sure you have. You seem to be educated. Have you ever heard of Adir?
I have.
There's a city in Adir. It's the most prominent one, known as Hodgwen. Recently, there was a bit of a, I guess you could call it, civil war that happened over there, and many strange happenings. Anyways, I was one of the, I was the wife of one of the counselors of Hodgwen, and unfortunately, my husband, may he rest in peace, lost his position along with his life. I believe all of the other counselors in Hodgwen lost their lives as well, or at the very least their positions. I was imprisoned for some time, and then I was released. Being somebody who was willing to work with the opposition, they rewarded me excommunication. Sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? I always forget this fucking word. Exile. They awarded me exile as opposed to execution. I'm a reasonable woman.
They were going to execute you for the wrongdoings of your husband.
It's complicated, but
I insist that I send one of my staff to remove the dust from your home. You stay here for the night.
she'd actually say thank you with that, like follow it up with it. Thank you.
You'll have a nice bath. Tomorrow we'll discuss business.
Thank you again.
For tonight, we'll be women.
She actually looks at you and she gives you because she knows what you mean by that. She gives you like a smile, like a genuinely kind smile. And so how would you proceed at this point on, even if it's kind of fading, the camera fades away?
Children.
Gotcha. She would tell you all about her children. She would tell you about her brilliant daughters and her boisterous son. You know what I mean? She would give you lots of details about like how they would help with various parts of the family business and so on and so forth. And that her son actually was kind of removed from those because he actually was raised to be captain of the guard in the city that she was leader of. He also was exiled as opposed to executed with everything done because of the actions that she took to aid the other side. She can, being a reasonable woman, they were willing to grant such thing to her and to her son and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? Either way, so she actually, whence the, I suppose you could say like, you know, the sharpness to her falls, you can see that she comes off as actually an elegant and eloquent woman, elevated in age, but certainly comfortable with a higher position.
Would have made a fine moissanite. Right?
Yeah, actually, actually quite.
I'm actually working on getting her unexpectedly drunk, catching her off guard, so that I can loosen her up enough to talk about what her husband did and whether she stood beside his actions.
Sure. So she has not drank wine in a while. So needless to say, her old person liver would certainly not be able to handle ageism. I don't know, John, I think you're the oldest one here. You can decide that. And she would not be able to hold her liquor very well, so it certainly would get her a bit tipsy. I will roll some Constitution saves because you're trying to do this intentionally. The first Constitution save I'm going to roll because it just happens naturally. Beyond that, as you're like pushing for her to drink more, I'm going to have you try to be deceptive about it.
I would be deceptive about it. I would steer conversation towards high emotional things that make her like want to take more drinks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a deception roll then?
I don't actually think it would be deception. I almost want to say that it's is there like a partying? It's
There's
not. It's
drinking.
No. There's a Constitution drinking. She's gonna roll that, but it's almost like a seduction. You know what I mean? Because like it's kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Like
luring her in.
Yeah, like gallivanting. What's the word I'm looking for? Carousing. It's almost like a carousing check. That's what I'm looking for. And I can see seduction beyond being sexual or etiquette beyond being just, oh, I know how to pose, and it's carousing. So do you have, if you don't have a forte or focus on either of those, then it's just a communications check. But let me roll my first thing first, okay?
Sure.
And she's an old woman, so it's not very, doesn't have a very strong constitution. But I rolled well. By the way, Josh, I can clip it later on. She rolled a 19 against your 21.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why she read through it a second time. She's like, maybe I missed something, and she failed by 2. And if I open
No, I'm about to say you RP'd that beautifully because it was so suspenseful. I was like, oh no.
So, anyways, she holds her drink well enough, all things considered, but that's because she's more conservative with the amount that she's drinking. Now you're gonna roll that communications check to try to coerce her into drinking more. Like, again, carousing. It's not, come on, buddy, have a shot. It's like, you know, you're, oh my God, ha 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 ha, tell me more.
A communication is what you want me to do?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
Okay, so are you comfortable with your 14 with this situation?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just roll a willpower against that, and so I am going to actually be able to open roll so I can daddy's dice this.
Aw, dick.
I'm really happy you didn't daddy.
No, this is.
Can you imagine if you open rolled with a 19?
Oh, I know, right? He doesn't need the daddy's dice. That +6. It's beautiful.
She's a strong-willed old woman.
That's gorgeous. If I don't notice her getting like noticeably drunker, then I'm not gonna push it.
Okay,
I'll try to gain her trust over tomorrow instead.
But Doxy, push it.
Salt and pepper here.
I love it. So I'm sorry, tangent. Just I know you would appreciate it, Doxy. Maybe you, Josh. Sorry, Will. So we're outside. It's like 8 o'clock at night now, and I'm like, we have to go in soon. My daughter's like, I like being by the fire because the fire pit we just made. She's like, can we do a dance party? Can we put on music? I was like, sweetheart, neighbors want to go to sleep and stuff like that. We can't put on music right now. But for Christmas, my wife had gotten me a beanie hat with speakers built in for Bluetooth. So I went and I Bluetoothed it and put it on her head. So it's like this, it's getting dark out there. She's like dancing around like a 4-year-old little girl does with all this confidence while listening to music and stumbling through the words that she doesn't know. And it was so funny. She's singing like Lady Gaga and like Salt and Pepper and stuff like that. Like, oh, it was so funny. Anyways.
What a little sweet.
Push it. Push it.
She goes, push it. So good.
That's cute. That's cute.
I love it when we listen to rock and roll in my car. She puts her sunglasses on and just goes, she mean bugs. She's like,
oh no, you're going to have, teenager years. Oh.
I can't wait to hear all about it when she's giving you hell.
She already does. She already does. It's great. I'm like, ugh. And I don't allow attitude, but she definitely knows how to slip in just enough. Just enough.
Yeah.
Just feel like this is enough that daddy won't get mad at me for being disrespectful. I'm going to do just this amount, you know?
It's okay. You tried. Like,
or like, Daddy, will you play Shopkins with me? We're like, I guess we could play Shopkins. well, Daddy, it can be Shopkins or Peppa Pig. You know you're gonna enjoy both of them. Like, I hate both of those the most. Anyways.
Scott's nightmare. Peppa Pig.
It's so cute.
Yeah, until you watch it 400 times and then it's not. Oh man,
I think it's adorable.
my daughter is loving. My daughter is loving Little Einsteins. Oh my god, just hearing the beginning of that show, I think I get gray hair. That's why I shaved. This is like all gray this way. It's weird.
The Einstein. All right. So, anyways, you guys, you don't press it that night. Instead, you just have a good evening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And
I want to hear about her life. She actually, I respect her for the apology. I feel a little bit guilty for lying to somebody who's on such hard times, but I have a mission.
I will RP a little bit more of her with you, just so you can
Sure.
get a little bit of information that you're hoping to glean from her as a person. So one of the things that you do find out is that she actually was not born into a family of high prominence. It was just a family of an amount of money. But she was lucky enough to marry an eligible bachelor, and that he himself did come from a lot of money, and that the two of them kind of worked well together and were able to secure themselves strong positions within the city of Hodgwen itself. You're able to find out that she had raised the 3 children, as we had discussed beforehand. Her 2 daughters, which happened to be, to one degree or another, brilliant. Her son, who is, she will say he was a very spirited young man. You know what I mean? Is how she would refer to him. But he was, strong in heart and mind, and captain of the guard, and commanded strong will. I will admit that sometimes Hodgwen didn't make the best of decisions. It's the people that ruled the place and how it is they chose to rule wasn't the best, and the reason why the Civil War even came about wasn't necessarily a wrong decision. I mean, Hodgwen had the prominent power, but they used that power during a time where fresh water was difficult to get their hands on as almost a weapon against the people. It was difficult to get their hands on water, and so what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry. And so rationing out the water to the people was necessary. Leveraging that rationing to gather those persons to be soldiers in the Hodgwen military was probably not the best decision made by the council, but nonetheless a decision that they made. And I am regretful for my part in that. It's nonetheless it is what transpired. She kind of like explains that kind of stuff to you, and so on. Says that her, of course, she had a beautiful estate there, but she knows that before she had left Adir, that it had been ransacked. She knows that it was completely stripped. She does tell you that she was a prisoner for many months. Her time as prisoner, she did the best she could to aid those that had captured her, because she didn't disagree with their arguments. She actually was like, "You're not wrong with what it is that they were doing."
I'm so sorry. I'm just getting used to this setup.
No, you're fine. Fine. She does explain that she didn't disagree with their reasoning and whatnot, so she was fine with it. And she does say that they did, however, for reasons of their own that she didn't necessarily agree with, kill her husband as an attack against Hodgwen itself. Anyways, when everything was said and done, they chose to exile her. They actually contemplated, because the rulership there fell under there were 3 crowns, not 1, and there was disagreements. Some believed that she actually should be allowed, with their newly formed alliance between her and them, to be put back into Hodgwen on the council to work with them to rebuild the place after the Civil War had ended. Others thought that execution was the best decision. They met in the middle. That's what they ended up doing. And so that's why she was exiled.
Sounds to me like they gave up an asset. An asset who made a mistake, but an asset nonetheless.
I'm not going to sit here and paint myself in the prettiest of lights, because it would be lying to you, and you do seem to be honestly, it's easy to speak to you. I see why it is that others come to your calling.
It's my job, after all.
I do have my own sordid past, some of which you understand, and others maybe less so, but I have to say that I asked before if you believe in destiny because I think destiny has led me here. I think I have to choose a different path. The one that I had beforehand, let's just say it was not rewarding.
Tell me, how do you feel about civil rights after everything that you've been through?
One of the most important beliefs in Adir, one of the strongest beliefs that the people there have, is individualism, freedom of oneself. Actually, there are very few laws that exist in Adir because it is not a unified area. It is a bunch of different city-states that all have their own degree of influence in the local land and whatnot, and so there's their own laws, but there are few laws that everybody agrees to as a group, and one of them is no slavery. But beyond that, individual pride is a cultural norm there. It's something they take pride in their pride. So being an Iterite myself, because that's what fucking Neil calls them, being a Dirian myself, I think it's important. I agree with it. And perhaps slavery, though servitude, obviously servants, you pay them, everybody needs a job. Slavery is probably not the best choice.
No. I agree. These people are part of the estate. And I would like you to help me to make sure that the person who takes over Coronor's station sees that these people are paid, sees that these people become servants and not slaves, see that their needs are met, and that their feelings and lives are considered.
You and I discussed beforehand the various business ventures of Nori. You know that he handles the trade.
Aye. And I plan to dismantle it.
Yes, about that. I asked you if you knew who it was that had pointed that to him because, well, for lack of better phrasing, I was being a cunt. Nobody knows who appointed it to him. It was a trick question.
Doesn't make for good pillow talk, though.
Of course. But again, I was trying to glean information from you, gain leverage in the conversation, but it doesn't matter. I have my suspicions because of how things in Yovance function. I'm not ultra familiar with them because I spent very limited time here, but I think it is one of the syndicate that appointed him to that position. Meaning, to dismantle that would be to take from the pockets of some of the most powerful people in Yovance. And to remove a single coin from their pocket would be to remove a digit from their hands. Or at least that's how they would treat it. If this is in fact your endeavor, you're going to need somebody that can oversee it well.
Seems I've altered my belief in fate.
I have a feeling this is going to go very poorly for me.
Well, for what it's worth, you're a terrifying cunt.
She'll chuckle. And she'll
I'll cheers her.
Yeah, she'll actually raise it like a clink, like a legit clink to that one. And as like that kind of like little chuckle and moment, everything, when that one passes, you get back into the conversation. She'll say, Do you know anything about the syndicate here?
No. There's a reason that I was appointed this task.
Appointed?
This, and I hold up the fake will, arrived by middle of the night at the academy for me. No one saw the messenger. It had his seal. He knows all of my assets. My most valuable are not the physical. If I may be a bit of a braggart.
She says, believe me, you're in good company for patting oneself on the back.
The respect nod that I just did, Chrisellen does that.
Yeah. She says, I can't give you much because I don't know much, but I am fortunate enough to have a bit of a unique perspective of what the Syndicate is like because of where it is that I come from, because of the history of that place. Unless I'm mistaken, the Syndicate are all hobgoblins.
I would like grab kind of the bottom of her wine glass and lower it so that I could top it off.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would top off mine and I say, I have 2 companions. We have wine. It's a beautiful evening. I think that this conversation is better had hungover than tipsy.
She thinks for a moment. Perhaps it is.
They're going to want to hear. And you'll do better to tell it firsthand than I will, hungover and secondhand.
She'll chuckle and say, well, what is it? What are they called? She'll raise her glass again and say, to morning Bloody Marys.
And cucumber mint water for you on the nightstand when you wake up.
And she'll give a genuinely appreciative nod, and then she'll drink some more with you. Okay. Do at this point you pry any further with the other things that you were looking into?
I just get to know her. I want to establish trust.
Absolutely. Booyah. Awesome. With that happening, we're actually going to have that kind of tail end interrupted by what's his fuff? You, whatever your name is. But anyways, we'll do that after we take a break because we haven't had one in forever. And I imagine some people have to, like, I don't know, get ice cream for themselves since they hacked up a lung like an hour and a half ago, hour and 40 minutes ago. They probably want ice cream to help get rid of that raspiness that's kind of going on back there. So, so for those people that are there, let's take a break. Josh, is that a nice long outro for you to make up for how quick the last one was?
It was very Neil. It was very Neil. I appreciate it.
Hold on, guys. Let's come back. Sorry. Let's come back. I'm gonna give you a Neil outro. Are you ready?